Welcome back to Uncovered. Today, our episode is called Get a Grip. So we're going to be talking all things grip, and that's not just like the grip assistant, like dry hands and chalks and stuff, but just grips in general for pole, because I think that this is the topic that we haven't touched on before at all.
And I feel like it's a topic that is discussed a lot, especially with early pole dancers. But even like when you change studios, if the poles change, sometimes your grip situation changes. And let's be real, like since we started, there was like, when we started, it was like dry hands, feel, tight grip. Now it's like no dry hands in Australia because it's like it's really freaking hard to get a hold on.
To dry hands.
Yeah, it's like
it's like gold.
Dancing dust. This. There's so many grips, and there's more grips coming out. So we figured it'd be a good topic to uncover.
Yeah, and it's not just about the grips themselves, but it's about like I guess different like grips in pole, as well as how your grip can be affected, and some tips for you guys as well. So yeah, it's the first time we've done a podcast, just the two of us in a while. I know. Usually we've had guests on this season, which has been great. And we've had a lot of great feedback from you guys as well, which we love. So if you do want us to talk to anybody in particular, just send us a message. And
tell us what you, tell us what you want us to talk to them about. Because we get a lot of recommendations of people we should have on, and we're like, what should we uncover here?
And there's been a few guests that we've had recently that we had an idea of what we wanted to talk to them about, and then it has turned into something completely different. We're like, we didn't even know they had all these skills, like, and all this like experience in these other areas. So
yeah, we could have chatted to them about heaps of things. But yeah, probably given this is really close to Christmas, probably a good point to say that we're going to take a little bit of a Christmas break, maybe 2 or 3 weeks, just determining how much we can get done before the end of the year.
And just to give you guys an opportunity to catch up on some other episodes as well.
Exactly. And it's a busy time. We're going to be with family. We're going to be taking breaks from our studios if your studio shuts. We do have a really good episode from a while ago that's like, stay pole ready this Christmas. I think it's like in the first season. So if you need a little refresher, it might be a good one to go back to, because if your studio is shutting, you're like, I don't know what to do with myself for 2 weeks or 3 weeks.
We'll reshare that for you.
Yeah, I think it'll be a good one. So shall we dive on into
grips?
All things grip.
Get a grip.
Get a grip.
I was like, you can tell now that we're just like, what are we doing? We're just talking to each other now.
It's like we don't have to ask questions. This is strange. Anyway, so I think a really good place to start when we talk about grips is actually not the grips and like the factors that can impact grip, because I think these things do get thrown around, but I don't think they really get talked about in a lot of detail. And I don't know how much detail we'll go into, but like.
Well, so I say to people when I very first meet someone that has never poled before, I'll firstly say to them, like the whole idea like with pole is as much skin grip you can get on the pole as possible is going to be really good to help you stay on. Yeah. So that's why we say to people, wear some short shorts, wear like a singlet or even a tight singlet. Eventually you'll be wearing, just like a crop top and like, pretty much like bikini bottoms or like booty shorts, because as much skin grip you have on the pole is better, because a trick that has 3 or 4 points of grip to the pole is generally going to be a little bit safer than something that has 2. So like your Aishas or handsprings or static V's, whatever you call them, it's just your hands. Nothing else is holding on. And you think about with your hands, and I'm like putting my hands up, but there's
for those of you on YouTube.
Hello. There's like not much here, whereas when you're using your like back or your side of your body or your thigh, there's a lot more like contact onto the pole.
So I think that's a really good segue into saying that your skin type can actually impact your grip.
Definitely.
So I know I am a dry skin type. I've had eczema for a big proportion of my life. So I moisturize morning and night. And there's going to be people out there who's like, you moisturize before you pole? It's like, yeah, I have to. Otherwise I end up in a rash. So but what I do is, because I need to keep my skin moist in some capacity.
Some people are not going to be happy about that. Anyway, yeah.
I'm like, anyway, so I have
Hydrated. You want to keep your skin hydrated.
Yes, with moisturizer. So anyway, what I do is to look after my skin is when the first thing I do before I get in the polo is I actually put metho on a towel and I wipe the moisturizer off my body.
Okay.
So whatever I need, because that's how I keep my skin luscious, of course.
See, I'm similar to you. I have dry skin, not to the point where I've had eczema. It's just that I can definitely moisturize in the morning if I'm poling at night because my skin will just soak it up. Like I spend a lot of time in the sun, in the salt water, and like it just dries your skin out a lot. So I feel like if I don't moisturize, then at night I'm finding it really slippery in terms of like my skin's just really dry and like soft in a way that it doesn't grip on either. It'll just slide straight off. So, but if I was to moisturize just before pole, I would fall off the pole. Like I wouldn't even be able to do basic climbs.
Well, there you go. There's a little tip. Just some metho and just like give yourself a little metho shower.
But I feel like I've tried that before. I don't know. So,
but this just goes to show like two people, both dry skin and have completely different experiences.
Exactly.
So that could be something that's impacting you. The other thing is the weather. So we're obviously Australians and we're in Queensland. It's quite warm, but we're about to go into summer. So I've even started to find that our students are struggling more and more with grip at the moment. So there's a lot more grip sales.
Yeah.
Definitely. So yeah, because
even though we've got like air conditioning, everything like that, it's just the humidity.
Yep.
It's just your body temperature just is like goes up so much quicker in summer.
Yeah, and it sits at that higher level. So the weather that's an obvious thing. It can obviously impact you. And then you find in winter, it's like you can't get enough like moisture in your skin, or like you're not hydrated enough to get that stickiness. Because it's funny, like you need enough sweat to create a stickiness,
like a tacky feeling.
Yeah, but you can't be super dry. So.
And I would be so interested to see what combinations like of, I guess, people that are out there in terms of like you've got dry skin, but you need to moisturize, and I've got dry skin, but like I need to like moisturize once, but not twice. Like it'd be interesting to hear what everyone else's experiences are with their skin type and in relation to the weather, because I definitely find I'm better in summer for grip. I don't really have to put much on. Unless it's really hot, then I can get sweaty. I
find that apart from my legs where I use shaving cream, the pole. So I started poling on chrome poles, and they were just. I was like dry hands, Bill. Like I was using everything.
I used Bill.
Yeah. It's like everyone's now like no, but dry hands and Bill, and now going to a studio that I've been at since forever, it's brass and I don't need grip. I barely use grip in the studio. I just put some shaving cream on my legs for a little bit of tackiness. But outside of that, unless that's super sweaty.
Yeah. And I think also a good point on that is like we both started on, the chrome poles, but also they were like 50 mil.
Yeah.
So they're a lot bigger. And if you've never tried on a 50 mil, some people still have studios on it.
Yeah.
It's definitely a lot more difficult. Some people say it's a lot easier for like your leg grips and stuff because it's a bit easier to lock on. But for your hands, it's really ridiculous. So me and Steph both started on that and did like most of our, those big tick tricks, like your inverts, your laybacks, your handsprings and stuff on those big poles before we went to the other ones. And I'm like you, I'm now don't really need much grip at all.
So there's a few things that play into that, and I think that works really nicely into the pole type because there are different grippiness levels based on the pole, and I think we covered this one in like the get a pole for home episode. But if you're poling on chrome, it's going to be slippery, or stainless I think is the slipperiest.
Yeah.
And then you get to your brass and your silicons, which are super grippy. So the pole's going to impact it, but also you're going to be impacted by the diameter of the pole as well. Because if you jump on a 38, your hands are going to love it because it's tiny and you can grip it. And then you jump on a 50, probably not doing those one-handed spins. No. So these all play a part when you are considering your grip with the pole.
And for any like gym people out there, like to make a move, like to make something harder with like a barbell, you use like, they're called fat grips. So it's like little, I guess, silicone things that you put onto the bar, which make the bar like bigger for your hands to grip. So it actually makes it harder. So that's a way of progressing something to make it harder. So if you think about with pole, having that bigger pole, like I think the difference between like the 38s or 40s and 45s is not that big of a deal, but then going to the 50s, having the really big pole does make a huge difference in terms of your like how your body works. And then also some people's skins do react to the different types of poles as well. So if you find you might be getting a bit of a reaction, it could be the type of pole.
Yeah, we've got a
type
couple
of metal.
Yeah, we got a couple who have like funny reactions to the brass. Manageable, but still funny. And of course, the other things like internally for you that can be impacted when it comes to your grip is stress or your cycle. If you're female,
ladies, yes.
for the lady listeners, because and I think that comes down to a little bit of energy too. Like if you're more motivated, or like if you're in part of your cycle, or you're not very stressed, where you've like got a lot of energy, you're probably trying a little bit. Whoa! I just like hit my chin on the microphone. I was like, whoa, that's right there. You're probably trying a little bit harder as well. So these are all things without even taking into consideration general grip or strength, because that is another internal thing. Is like, when I say internal, I mean you as a person.
That's like if you're tired and fatigued as well, like I always say to people at the end of a lesson when they're trying to do something, they're like, I can normally do it. I'm like, yeah, but you normally do this at the start of the lesson. You're fatigued now. So your like muscle contractions are not going to be as strong, or you might be able to squeeze and then your body doesn't want to anymore. So,
and if we take into consideration all the things Beck talks about with food, like your food, your nutrition might not be great today. So there's so many elements that can just impact before we even get into breaking down different grips.
Yes.
And
I was going to say the different types of grips. So you could be really sweaty with your hands, but you're like, I'm an elbow sort of person. And then someone's really great at, with spins, but then other person is like, nah, I prefer the legs or behind. Like we can get so specific. So if you're finding that especially if you're new or like intermediate level and you're like, I'm just so slippery. It's like, have you tried the different types of grip? You know,
so like grip points,
like
you're saying
grip points, like hands is a grip point, or elbows is a grip point. You know, like the side of your body, the leg, like there's so many different grip points. I know that for me, my armpits are like the one area that does get really sweaty in my body. So doing like the teddy positions or any armpit holds, like I need to like make sure like I wipe my armpits and that they don't have sweat on them, because I'll just slide straight off no matter how grippy I am.
Interesting.
Yeah.
And the other thing is when it comes to hands, you've got split grip, you got different grips just when it comes to your hands. And then your feet too are thrown in there. So there's a lot of elements.
Yes.
So to most people, when you're like, oh, I can't grip to the pole, the first thing you do is you walk up to your instructor and be like, what grip should I use? And there is now a lot of grips out there.
Oh, yeah.
A lot of grips came out of COVID because we had the great dry hands.
Depression.
Yeah, that's a good word. I know. And when you see some dry hands, somebody left some dry hands in the studio and we're like.
And if it's unnamed, you're like, oh, every man for themselves.
Yeah. And we're like, we'll just hide this one over here because it's a commodity. So yeah, there's quite a few different grips around, and there's grips for like your hands, your body, your feet. And I think what's really interesting is they've all got their own little quirks, like tight grip as an example. Did you guys ever read the instructions? So you're actually meant to apply it like 30 minutes before your session.
Yeah. I read the instructions of a new grip we had that we've got in called Sticky Molly, and it's
actually the girls are loving.
It's really, really good. And the instructions on the back is just like apply grip, like just apply and use. And I was just like, oh yeah, sweet. It's straight to the point because I looked at it and I was looking at the back of it, and then I like looked at all the other grips and I'm like, oh, there's actually differences. You don't they're not just all like stock standard put on. The other thing too is sometimes grip shouldn't be applied to the pole. I'm pretty sure dancing dust is one of those because they make your poles really, really grubby. So, and same with what am I thinking? Like Beal is, well, actually Beal people use for both, but Beal was always normally used for like the stainless steel and the chrome, and it was applied to the pole. I have seen people put Beal on themselves, but I never put Beal on myself.
I think I'd only ever put it on my hands.
Only ever put it on the pole.
Yeah.
And this is the other thing. Some things work better for people than, some people than others. Like we have a lot of testers, and we say to someone, just try one tester every time you're in. Don't try and do like a whole combination, because unless you really like clean your hands, because you don't know what's going to work.
Yeah, and the residues. But I think one of the biggest common things amongst the grips is that they have antiperspirants in them.
Yeah.
So if you're sweaty, you want to find one with something like that in it. And I think dancing dust is quite good for that, because I think it reactivates. Yeah, see, I've never been I'm pretty lucky. I've never been like a sweaty handed person, but the girls in the studio who have sweaty hands really, really love that one for our type of a space, our type of poles.
And then there's also shaving cream, which is not actually manufactured as a pole dancing grip. It's manufactured to shave your legs.
And we have one in every single room.
I think that the industry needs to make something of it. Like
Should we cut this one out and then we can just brand our own shaving cream? Uncovered. Get a grip.
And it's just shaving cream.
It's amazing.
So for those of you that have no idea what we're talking about, if you're listening overseas, it's really like an Aussie thing. We use shaving cream. I prefer gel. This was something that gel. I first learned from Maddie and Chimmy down in Sydney.
Oh, wow, yeah.
And it makes your skin because again, like I said, my skin's very dry. It kind of just makes it that little bit tacky. So you don't want to put too much on, but you also have to learn the hard way, because you think a little bit's going to come out and a lot comes out. So go do less is less. Less is more. I don't know. Less is best. Just do a little bit and then add more if you need to. You will have a point where you will just be covered. That's just happens to everybody.
I walked into the studio
especially if it's a new can of new bottle.
I walked into the studio and I've got little glass things that sit under, trinket things that sit under all the shaving cream, because they're freaking messy. And somebody obviously got too much and just because they got little lips on them. When I said
slapped it
and just wiped their head onto the corner of the thing. And I walk over and there's just this huge blue blob, and there was a class on which was only 3 people, and they were all people who were friends, and I just looked at them and I'm like,
who did this?
I'm like, what the fuck is this?
Maybe they were just I don't want to waste it. Someone else can use that. I don't know. But anyway.
My face is would you do that?
I don't know. But yeah, so if you haven't tried it already and you do have dry skin, I find that a lot of people that are sweaty, it doesn't have the same effect.
No.
And I put it on before pole. I think that you do need to just wait a couple minutes for it to kind of, if you have a lot on, it's just going to come off on the pole. I have been really dry one time and put some on, but then straight away went on the pole, and then I went to put my hands on the pole and it just slipped off. So I hate it. I can't have it on my hands. It makes my hands slippery.
I don't think anybody's had good things to say about it on their hands.
No, some people don't mind putting it on and then they'll just wash their hands. But for me, I can't have it touching my hand. So I put it on the back of my hand and then I rub it into my legs, and mainly behind my knees, sometimes my thighs if I'm feeling they don't have much grip, and then just the side of my body.
Yeah, I use it on my inner thighs predominantly, and I use my hands and then I just spray metho on them and wipe it off on the towel.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, I'm interested to know how much metho my body absorbs.
That would be hilarious. You're just how much percent of water are we supposed to be? 80% water?
And I'm just 20% metho.
20%.
Anyway, so I think when it comes to grips, there's so many now, and it's probably there's so many blogs out there, so we won't go into it in too much detail, because Hair Tricks and Flicks have a really good blog that breaks down the different types of grips in Australia at the moment, and she does it from dry Dora to Sweaty Betty.
Yeah.
So checking out some of those, but I would ask people around skin types, those types of things, what works best for them. There's other things that you might even only whip out when you do comps, let's say. I know for me, ITAC is something I would use for comps, because I was I can't fall off this pole.
Yeah.
So and ITAC is it comes on and it
it doesn't come off. Your skin comes off.
Yeah, pretty much.
It's kind of like sticky molly. One spray only.
If you use that liquid.
If you use sticky molly,
yeah.
one spray only. It's like a shaving cream thing. Less is best.
Yeah.
And then you can reapply if you need.
So I think you just take that into your entire grip finding journey. Less is best. And then...
And also, like, I know that some instructors will really push the whole, no, you shouldn't need grips. You need to train, you know, strengthen, you know, your body to be able to do this sort of stuff. I probably would say, like, most of the elite pole dancers use grip to some extent. Obviously, you don't want to be spending so much money, like, every time you, like, touch the pole, reapplying grip, because you're just going to go through your grip so much. So you want to be a bit conscious, and there are other things you can do to help, like, say with hands, like the strength in your hands, because it's not just it's sweaty, but the stronger you are to hold your hands together onto that bar, the less you're going to be slipping.
And to add to that, a lot of competitions these days are moving away, if you are competitors, moving away from allowing you to have grip directly on your pole.
Yeah.
So if you can, and you love your studio owner, and you want to be the best student ever, don't apply grip to the bar.
Just put it on, just do it
On
to
your
your body
body.
and just give it a really good clean wipe. I think some people underestimate the power of just actually wiping it down, because I say to all the beginners, like, I'm constantly touching my hair, and my hair is so oily, and my face, and then I'll touch the pole, and like it all transfers onto it. And if you're a bit sweaty as well, like it's all coming off onto the pole. So you really want to make sure you clean your pole and have it nice and fresh for when you are doing a trick, especially when you're doing something for the first time.
And for beginners, like when your instructor does say you shouldn't use it, like it's just by doing pole. Yes, let's be real. Your strength in your hands is probably not good enough at this point in time if you're new to pole, but it's helping you build the strength. And just by attending classes, you're building that strength in your hands. So a little bit of grip is going to help. Sometimes it's really hard to identify as an instructor, because the body awareness is not, it's not as great as what it is when you build your pole journey. So is it like, okay, is it strength or is it sweatiness? And then sometimes it's not sweatiness, it could be dryness, it could be whatever. So there's a lot of elements. So it's hard to identify that when you're in your beginning levels. But trial and error is really good to figure out what works for you. But yeah, strengthening your hands. You can improve your grip strength.
Definitely.
Like, it is not just, and it's not just like hands, it comes up through your wrist and your forearms as well. So there's a lot of things that you probably could do to strengthen this. And I know personally, I broke my wrist a few years ago. So I had zero strength. So I had to rebuild my wrist strength, which actually rebuilt my hand strength as well. And it's a lot of work, and they're quite boring exercises, but if you want to be a nice all-rounder strong pole dancer, of course, because we all do, right? These things are good for you.
And typically, I guess in classes, your instructor's not going to do this sort of stuff with you, because there is a little bit of, you know, muscle building, and you get stronger by just doing the moves themselves. So you're not necessarily going to have these specific movements, because there's just like not enough time in the class sometimes.
No. So a couple of really good ones that you could do is like wrist extensions. So what that is if you have your wrist out and like ideally with a little bit of weight, and then lifting them up and down. You guys are going to have to check us out on YouTube. It's like think about like a Harley. Like,
motorbike.
On a motorbike. It's like that. It's lifting up and down, because that's helping strengthen the wrist, and obviously squeezing through your hands. A really good one I did in is it Evgeny? I can never say his name right. Evgeny.
Evgeny. Oh,
yeah.
sorry.
So he did this really, really good one where you're on the pole and you put both your hands on and you grip in like your baseball grip in front of you. And then it's like you're trying to unscrew the pole. Like imagine if it was cut in half and you're like trying to screw the bits apart. So it's sort of like
turning your wrist the opposite way from each other.
And then, but not actually. So if you think of it on the pole, you're just like, you're just squeezing really tight.
Creating tension.
Yeah, thank you.
It's okay.
So that is another really good one. And I think the last one that was really good is like wrist rotation. So a really easy way of doing this is with your hammer, like a hammer. I'm like,
was
something with weight.
I can't help you here.
And like bringing them into the side and then like rotating your wrist out until it gets to sort of flat and then coming up. And that's also helping your mobility in your wrist, like your rotation. So yeah, there are a couple of really good ones. Obviously, wrist push-ups.
Yeah, like, and if you have access to like any like horizontal bars and stuff, like doing hangs and, you know, when I was doing calisthenics for a while, I found that my grip strength was just incredible because I was like, not only was it like the bars there are quite rough, so I was getting calluses, which actually really helps me for pole because they make it easier to hold on. But I was just doing so much, like just holding so much and doing the horizontal pole rather than the vertical. Like the vertical, obviously you can slide down, whereas the horizontal, you just, when you fail, your fingers open and unwrap, and that's how you fail. So it's actually like you're really working your forearms, whereas, you know, the other one is just, you can just slide straight down.
So would I be like safe to assume then just even by doing weights, like barbell weights and dumbbell weights?
Yeah, definitely. I've always been like, I've been a pole dancer for like 9 years and I've only been doing the gym for like 4. So when I went to the gym, I've never had an issue when I was doing my deadlifts with like not being able to hold on. When some people, and I don't do like really heavy deadlifts, but I wouldn't be able to lift something that was that heavy that my grip strength would fail first.
Yeah.
Whereas a lot of other people, like they have wrist straps to assist them to hold on to lift heavier weights. But I've found I've never had an issue with that because of pole. So you do build it up over time.
Yeah. So yeah, I guess to sum that all up, there is so many things that can impact your grip. A couple of things you can control, a couple of things you can't control. So yeah, obviously factors in the environment, factors within your body, different types of grips. We recommend trying them. We highly recommend shaving cream. We love it. Is shaving cream just a brass pole thing though?
Mainly, yeah. I don't use it as much on the stainless poles.
I do want to add another one, and we had this conversation. Somebody asked us this on TikTok recently too. Hairspray. Have you ever used hairspray?
Oh, no, not specifically, but I know in competitions I have sprayed a little bit on my body here and there, like when I've had like a glitter or something, like other,
like a coloured spray or something.
No, it was because I had some like gold leaf. And then you sort of hairspray it to make it a bit tacky, or to attach some glitter and stuff like that. And I found that it did help a little bit with like the grip, but then it could have been other things.
Yeah.
Well.
So also interested to know what works for you guys.
Yeah.
So we'll put some stuff up this week on the gram. On the gram. And you guys can tell us what works because, we definitely blew a few minds by putting something on TikTok about
shaving cream.
Shaving cream, yeah. Yeah, it was definitely an interesting conversation. Anyway, guys, thank you for joining in and listening to us today. It's nice to just be the three of us. You're the third person listening, guys. Anyway, come check us out on Instagram. Hang out with us at uncovered.pd. If there's any topics that you really, really want to see, send them to us. We've right now, by the time you're listening to this, it'll be gone. But yesterday we did a bunch of questions because we've got some topics and we want to get some guests on because we know we're not the experts in those spaces. So we really want to talk to people about it so we can uncover more for you. Anyway,
until next time.
Bye.